That's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Troubles for East LA now as you take that 5 north at Dittman, Indiana. Stalled vehicle in a center traffic lane loaded up from Lakewood Rosemead. Somebody broken down at Atwater Village, Los Feliz on the 5 south at Los Feliz Boulevard. They're in the center divider. That has slowed the drive as far back as Burbank Boulevard. Granada Hills, Sylmar, it's troubles on the 5 north at Roxford. A wreck in the second lane from the left there. Looks like somebody might have struck a tire that was in traffic lanes. Cerritos, the top from earlier, still working the 91 east at Norwalk Boulevard. Carpool lane blocked with a solo spin out. That vehicle's facing sideways. We are busy here from at least the 605.
Summit Racing wants you to gear up your truck or Jeep for your next off-road camping adventure. With millions of parts in stock, you'll find off-road and outdoor essentials so you can camp confidently and comfortably. SummitRacing.com. Everything you need for anything you drive.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
History is not on the side of the Miami Heat. 36 teams have been down 3-1 in the NBA Finals, and only one has fought back to win the championship. LeBron did it in 2016 when he was with Cleveland. He helped the Cavs bounce back and beat Golden State for the title. The Denver Nuggets are up 3-1 on Miami, and they're at home tonight for Game 5. Everything is in the Nuggets' favor to close it out and win the first championship in the franchise's 56-year history. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 on ABC. The WNBA is considering major changes in how their teams travel after Brittany Griner was harassed over the weekend inside the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. The slumping Dodgers are back in L.A. after a 2-4 road trip. They are 2-6 in their last 8 games. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
We're on our way to show some solidarity with the union.
Yo, bro, you work for Amazon? You gonna vote for that union?
There just won't be enough jobs to give all Americans a decent, livable wage.
I want my kids to grow up in a society where they don't have to struggle as hard as we do. That's what we need to fight for.
I mean, our middle class is, I don't want to say it's gone, but it erodes every single day.
Do you think they're going to build any affordable housing here?
Oh, hell no. I don't want to work 3 jobs, nights, weekends. I want a life.
The trick in trickle-down economics is getting you to believe that anything which is good for rich people is good for everyone, and anything that is good for everyone else will kill the economy.
A union agitator.
If they're not going to take care of their employees, somebody has to.
They don't invest in us. They don't show us the resources.
It's just not sustainable. The system is gonna collapse.
We gotta take care of ourselves. We can't rely on the government, and we damn sure can't rely on the 1% class. What the hell?
This is union busting one-on-one.
They're going to spend millions of dollars just to stop that.
The voting wrapping up. Now employees are waiting on results.
If successful, it could spark a labor movement across the country.
Look at everyone out here suffering. What are you doing for us?
Our job as Americans is to fight to save this country. We need bold actions, organizing. We can't allow ourselves to be divided.
It's really time to rise and fight.
I need all of y'all. Are you going to get in the streets and do something?
You can handle the responsibility of being a leader? Say it with your chest.
In this hour, I am pleased to be joined by two men who've come together to create a compelling documentary that confronts one of the most pressing issues of our time, income inequality. We talk about it all the time around here. And to my mind, as I say often, you can't talk about poverty without talking about poverty, income inequality, and economic immobility. We had a rich conversation last week with now presidential candidate Cornel West of the People's Party when he came through to see us last week. And we spent some time, as you recall, talking about these issues. In this documentary called Americanned, I love the title, Americanned, the award-winning documentary shines a spotlight on a nation marked by radicalization and economic disparity, revealing the alarming effects of wealth redistribution, with over, listen to this, $50 trillion transferred from the bottom 90% to the top 1% over the past 4 decades. The film also confronts the stagnant wages of American workers despite increased productivity, and I might add, increased pay for CEOs of corporations. And, of course, the documentary exposes the risk of automation and AI technology threatening nearly half of all jobs by the mid-2030s. The documentary centers around Chris Smalls, now a Time 100 recipient, and founder and president of the Amazon Labor Union, a courageous leader who spearheads a movement to unionize Amazon workers, inspiring legions of individuals to rise up and to demand justice. I'm pleased to be joined now by Chris Smalls and the film's director, Sean Claffey. Chris, how are you, sir? Good to have you on.
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Ooh, your phone line sounds horrible. That's a horrible, horrible phone line. We got to get that fixed. Sean Claffey, how are you, sir? Good to have you on.
Doing great. Thank you so much for having us.
There we go. The director's phone line, maybe that's why he's the director. The director's phone line sounds good, and the subject's phone line not so much. While we try to get this phone line together, Sean, let me come to you as the director of the film. I wanted to start with Chris, but we'll start with you as director. What about this story attracted you to want to spend all the time you did putting this brilliant documentary together? Why this story for you?
Well, I think it's a couple of reasons. One, I come from an immigrant family that came here in the 1920s, that fleeing abject poverty in Ireland. They came here, they were basically servants until the New Deal was put through. Mm-hmm. And they, labor protections were put in place. They were able to join unions and ascend in one generation into the middle class. Mm-hmm. And then in my lifetime, just watching it erode year after year after year, that the middle class itself, but more importantly, the path to the middle class. Every hardworking American should be able to have a good life, mm-hmm. because there is so much money here. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And we talk about not having enough. If raising wages kills jobs, which is absolutely ridiculous, because if no one has any money, who's going to buy the stuff? Mm-hmm. And then, when, it's starting to show the fraying of the society and, the rise of this authoritarian wing. So it's really, it's a very important subject. And, we spent the last 4 years making it.
Yeah, 4 years on a documentary is a long time, and it came out beautifully, so I'm glad you invested the time. Let me ask you one other quick question. We'll move forward here and get Chris involved in this conversation as well. You raised this notion of the middle class, and I frankly have had it with this, but I want to get your take on it as a director of a film about these kinds of issues. You mentioned the erosion of the middle class, and you couldn't be more spot on in that regard, and yet politicians, almost every single one of them, afraid to talk about poverty, afraid to talk about the poor, afraid to talk about income inequality, afraid to talk about economic immobility, but they insist on continuing to use that term, the American middle class, as if they don't understand what you said earlier, that middle class is eroding. Why, to your mind, do you think politicians are still so stuck on using that phrase, the middle class, when you and I both know it ain't what it used to be?
Yeah, well, there are many CEOs and billionaires that are putting hundreds of millions of dollars into these think tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And the think tanks are, they're creating this propaganda. And, you see it as talking points from politicians. You see it on the television every night. And people believe it. Or the lobbyists, infiltrate the politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's something that we have to combat, and programs like yours do that well.
Yep. Language matters, and we were just talking earlier on today's program about not referring to this Supreme Court as just conservative, but more to the point, reactionary. That was brought to us by Randall Kennedy, Harvard law professor, in our conversation earlier today. They're not just conservative. We've had conservative courts before, but they are reactionary. So language matters, and I think we got to stop this nonsense of continuing to talk about the middle class as if it is what it once was. It's eroding every day, and we need more people bold enough to talk about poverty, income inequality, and income or economic mobility, or the lack thereof. When we come forward, we'll be joined by Christian Smalls, who is the subject of this documentary, directed by Sean Claffey, whose voice you heard moments ago. The documentary is called Americond, and we'll talk more about it when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I don't know who she is, but I think that you do. I think that you do. Tell me, who is she and what is she to you? There's something in my heart.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Hi, it's Dominique DePrima from KBLA Talk 1580. It's going down on Juneteenth weekend, Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. for the Ribbon Cutting and Street Festival for the New Orleans Corridor in Los Angeles. You know it. It's about time this important part of our story, our culture, was recognized by LA. Join Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and Grammy Award-winning musicians Irvin Mayfield, Terrace Martin, and 1,500 or Nothing for an amazing celebration. Go to NOLA2LAtickets.org to claim your free ticket. That's NOLA2LAtickets.org. I'll be your MC, and I will see you there. Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. It's the New Orleans Corridor in LA for Juneteenth 2023.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/moving forward.
Lowe's knows the best deals for Dad. That's why this Father's Day, you can shop our best gifts from the brands he loves, like Craftsman, for less. Right now, get a V20 drill or impact driver kit for just $69. And save $50 on a V20 string trimmer and blower combo kit, now only $99. Shop Father's Day deals today, in-store and online. Lowe's knows dads. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/14 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
You're just smiling this morning. All of your love is wishing you well. Your tears, they just swell, so make yours a happy home. Happy home. Make yours a happy home.
Okay, right quick. What film is this song on the soundtrack of? Got it? Okay. Claudine. It is the song styling of Gladys Knight, who we are celebrating today. June is Black Music Month, and all 3 hours of our program today, we are playing some of the best of Gladys Knight, and I told Miles to dig this one out. Love, 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 that movie, Claudine, with James Earl Jones and Diane Carroll. Gladys Knight does the soundtrack to Claudine, and again, love that film, love Gladys, as again we celebrate her today. Every day on our program during the month of June, we're featuring the music of a different artist, again, as we celebrate Black Music Month here in the month of June, and Gladys Knight is the artist we chose for today. Tune in tomorrow to see who tomorrow is, but again, every day this month we'll do it. In this hour, we continue our conversation now about this documentary, brand new, called Americanned. It is the story of Chris Smalls, an American labor organizer known for his role in leading Amazon worker organization in Staten Island, a borough, of course, in New York City. He's the president and founder of the Amazon Labor Union since 2021. Again, the documentary centers around his work and witness. It's directed by Sean Claffey, and we're pleased to have both of them on in this hour. I think we got Chris Smalls now, sounding a little bit better. Chris, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm sorry about that, but I'm good. Glad to be here.
There you go. Glad to have you here. Now you sound much better. It's a conversation far too important for the audience not to hear it. So I'm glad we got that that straightened out, man. I'm glad to have you on. First of all, congratulations on the Time 100 honor. I got one of those some years ago. I know what that feels like to be selected as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. So congratulations to you. Hope you had. Did you make the event? Did you go to the dinner?
I went last year,
yeah.
But this year I chose not to go. Instead, I was in Cuba this year trying to help once again end the blockade against Cuba.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got work and witness to do now, but I'm glad you made it last year at least, so you can see what that feels like. It's quite a good feeling to be in a room full of 99 other people who are doing courageous work and righteous work and heavy lifting to make the world a better place to live and work. So congratulations on that honor. Since you mentioned Cuba, I mentioned Cuba. Let me ask you right quick. I've had the honor of going to Cuba a couple of times, and at one point interviewing Castro while he was still president back in the day. Tell me about your trip to Cuba and what you were doing there. I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, I was representing the first U.S. delegation for labor. We went down there as a delegation extension of Hands Off Cuba, based out of L.A. And this delegation was full of young activists from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the opportunity to work with the CDC, the government, and the unions down there to actually meet the president And we actually had, that dialogue where we're going to try to work together to once again end the blockade, this embargo that's been in place for over 60 years. So I'm happy to be spearheading that. And on the 25th of June, we're going to deliver a petition to the White House when the UN is going to Congress this year. Mm-hmm. So we got a lot of great things going on for Cuba, trying to, uplift that people in that country.
Yep. In what ways does labor benefit if this blockade, after all these years, is eventually lifted?
Well, this is a worker-led country. If you're talking about unions and working class people, Cuba is a prime example of that. They're resilient people, and even with this embargo in place, just to go down there and experience the lifestyle of being a worker that's given things in an equal opportunity, and sharing things and showing that community and bringing people together is always going to overcome whatever oppression we may face. Unionizing is a way of doing that, and I think what I learned from that experience and that trip down there is that we have to work together. Unions up here in the country have to take a stance, and I think we'll move labor as a movement forward if we're able to uplift this blockade.
I'm happy to hear your involvement in that, and I know it had to be a pretty cool trip to go to Cuba and to advance those issues on behalf of labor. Let me go back before we come forward. Your story is quite amazing, and people, when they see the documentary film American, will understand more of it and come to appreciate you more, your sacrifice more, and frankly, I think to love you more, given all that you are doing on the labor front. But for those who have obviously not as yet seen the documentary, for those who have heard about you but don't really know what you were up against, just take a few minutes here. Again, they'll get more of it when they see the documentary. But tell me what you were up against at Amazon and what specifically occasioned your journey to becoming a labor organizer at Amazon. Just tell the story of what was going on.
Yeah, the film absolutely touches on like the beginning, even before the union existed. Mm-hmm. And, for me being a worker at Amazon since 2015, being a model employee for them, I just felt like when the pandemic hit, I didn't have that voice anymore to really protect anybody, and not even myself. And that was disheartening after, giving my blood, sweat, and tears to this company for 5 years, opening up 3 buildings for them, and training thousands of their employees. So when the pandemic hit, life or death situation, we talk about New York City being the epicenter of the world. I'm thinking this $1 trillion company with all the money, power, and resources is going to do the right thing and protect us. But I found out quickly that wasn't the case. They were going to put profits over people even during the pandemic. And me as a supervisor, I just felt that, I had to speak up on behalf of all the people who I spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week with, who I consider my extended family. Mm-hmm. So, to speak up and for the company to retaliate by firing me, it pretty much, changed my life forever. I had to make a decision 3 years ago, and I chose that I was going to continue to fight and stand up and advocate for workers' rights. And, one thing led to another, and, here I am today, as the first union president in American history.
Yeah. What kinds of things were you seeing as a supervisor, Chris, that troubled you so to the point that you put yourself on the line, spoke up for them, as you mentioned earlier, got fired by Amazon? The rest, as they say, is history. Now you're the star of a documentary called American. But as a supervisor at Amazon, what were you seeing with regard to the way they were treating or maltreating workers that most got under your skin?
Well, it was absolutely the pandemic for sure. I was already mentally checked out with the company, just from me being a black man and not being able to move up after, several years as a supervisor. Mm-hmm. I should have been a salary manager years ago. I applied to be a manager several times. So the systemic racism was just one thing, that you don't experience unless you have longevity there. And the pandemic was the icing on the cake. Seeing workers come in with different symptoms, people not coming at all because they were afraid. And then when I was told by upper management not to tell the rest of the workers in the facility that people were coming to the warehouse positive, I couldn't stand with that. That was immoral for me and inhumane. So I took a stance that led to my, the walkout and my termination. But if I had the opportunity to do it again, I absolutely would, because I felt like that's the right thing to do.
Yep. You used a phrase a moment ago that really jumped out at me and jumped out at this audience, I'm certain, as a black man at Amazon. When we think of Amazon and this union fight, we think of them, not wanting their employees to unionize. We think of corporate greed. But we don't necessarily think of Amazon in the frame that you just created for us, working there as a black man. So tell me a bit more about working at Amazon as a black man since you went there.
Well, the numbers don't lie. Amazon upper management, it's 70% is white or Asian. 30% upper management is black and brown. It's not enough. It's not enough diversity. Even when you go up to the S team, the VPs right underneath the CEO. Mm-hmm. For the first time in their 28 years of existence, 29 now, but they just put the black woman on the S team in the 28 years. That happened after I was fired. Mm-hmm. And all of the racist remarks that came out, calling me not smart or articulate. And these things, they only done so that they can show that there's representation, but it's really not. It doesn't trickle down to the warehouse, which majority of the workforce is black and brown. Alabama, for example, that building's 85% black and brown, 80% black women. And they just fired Jennifer Bates, the lead organizer, who's actually in the film. They just fired her a few days ago. So they have no respect for black and brown people. They set up shop in our communities, and they reap the back over our labor, and they don't give back into the communities that we come from. So us fighting back and unionizing, this pandemic has sparked all of that. And our representation is absolutely important.
Yep.
Our union representation as black and brown workers, and the labor movement as a whole, it has to be black and brown led.
Yeah. In the end, you won because there is an Amazon labor union of which you are not the president, starting out in Staten Island where you began this fight. But as a black man, back to your phrase, how did you process all of the vitriol and the ad hominem attacks leveled at you as a black man, not being smart, not being articulate? How did you process that, being hit that way by Amazon leadership with that kind of dismissiveness?
Well, once again, the most important advantage that we got over Amazon is that Amazon doesn't know people.
Yeah.
They didn't know who I was. They didn't know what I meant to the company. They didn't know how valuable I was. They didn't know any of that. I opened up 3 warehouses for this company. I trained thousands of their employees. I trained hundreds of their upper management. So much of their upper management to the fact that the day I was fired by the manager that fired me, I trained him. And then I watched as our campaign, when we were victorious, he got promoted to assistant general manager. But guess what? He's no longer there after our union victory. So I watched all of that happen, and this is by people that I've trained. So they didn't know who I was and how valuable I was to the company and what my relationship was to people, especially the people in the community that I come from, New York and New Jersey. I grew up here. So people know me just from that popularity alone.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to organize, I was just playing for a different team, the people. And this is what it's going to take. It's going to take the people versus Amazon.
The documentary film is called Americanned, a film about income inequality in the U.S. and the tragic, destabilizing effects to Americans. The film centers around the work and witness of Chris Smalls, American labor organizer, known for his role in leading Amazon workers in that walkout, as it were, and that victory in Staten Island. He's the president now of the Amazon Labor Union since 2021. The director of that film is Sean Claffey. More with them when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Pennsylvania, testimony is scheduled to resume today in the Tree of Life Synagogue massacre trial. Jurors on Thursday heard from a forensics expert testifying for the prosecution in the capital murder trial of Robert Bowers. Bowers is accused of killing 11 worshipers at a Pittsburgh synagogue in October of 2018. New York City is setting what African-American Mayor Eric Adams' administration is calling a first-of-its-kind minimum pay rate for app-based restaurant delivery workers.
They should not be delivering food to your household if they can't put food on the plate in their household.
The mayor announced that tens of thousands of food delivery drivers in the city will make nearly $18 an hour plus tips by July 12th. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
We have that major accident working in Hawthorne on the 105 westbound at Crenshaw Boulevard. The right lane blocked with a fire truck on the scene there, and traffic's jamming up off the 110. A vehicle fire being put out in Pomona, 10 eastbound at White Avenue. Trucks in the two right lanes there, and delays are coming away from the 57 merge. A minor tie-up in Sherman Oaks, 405 south, past the 101.
Summit Racing wants you to gear up your truck or Jeep for your next off-road camping adventure. With millions of parts in stock, you'll find off-road and outdoor essentials so you can camp confidently and comfortably. SummitRacing.com. Everything you need for anything you drive.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
History is not on the side of the Miami Heat. 36 teams have been down 3-1 in the NBA Finals, and only one has fought back to win the championship. LeBron did it in 2016 when he was with Cleveland. He helped the Cavs bounce back and beat Golden State for the title. The Denver Nuggets are up 3-1 on Miami, and they're at home tonight for Game 5. Everything is in the Nuggets' favor to close it out and win the first championship in the franchise's 56-year history. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 on ABC. The WNBA is considering major changes in how their teams travel after Brittany Griner was harassed over the weekend inside the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. The slumping Dodgers are back in L.A. after a 2-4 road trip. They are 2-6 in their last 8 games. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Everybody in the house make some noise!
Is there a better day of the year to celebrate the anniversary of the only unapologetically progressive talk station west of the Mississippi, focused on issues that impact the black community?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We think not. A station that amplifies black voices like yours with hosts and guests who look and sound like you. Celebrating our second anniversary on Juneteenth. We're KBLA Talk 1580. And you ain't seen nothing yet. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you faced discrimination in Los Angeles? The City of LA Civil Rights Department can help. They investigate private sector discrimination in LA City in commerce, education, employment, and housing. If you're facing discrimination, submit a complaint online for free at laisforeveryone.com. That's laisforeveryone.com or call 213-978-1845.
If your Medi-Cal is ending, Cover California is here to help. Cover California is a service from the state that helps you get affordable health insurance. In many cases, at no cost to you, just like with Medi-Cal. We have quality health plans, and we'll help you every step of the way to get the one that works for you and your family. So, if you're no longer eligible for Medi-Cal, check out Cover California. We'll keep you covered. Learn more at coveredca.com.
If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that's between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Eligibility criteria apply and funding is limited. For more information, visit covidpaidsick.com. If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that has between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. For more information, visit covidpaidsick.com.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Song stylings of Gladys Knight as we continue to celebrate Gladys on today's program, June Black Music Month. And Gladys is our artist in residence, has been, is for today. And as I said earlier, she sounds as good as ever. In this hour, we continue our conversation with the subject of the new documentary, Americand, Chris Smalls, who is the president and founder of the Amazon Labor Union, and the director of the documentary Americand, Sean Claffey. Pleased to have them both on in this hour. Sean, let me come to you before I get back to Chris Smalls and talk more specifics about the state of labor in this country and the fact that despite an increase in productivity, compensation for the American worker has been stagnant. We'll talk to Chris about that in a moment. But let me just pivot somewhat here for a second and ask you to tell me about the filmmaking process. You mentioned earlier it took you guys 4 years to sort of film this. This station is heard across the nation, but we're flagshipped in L.A., so there are all kinds of folk who are in the filmmaking business who listen every day. I love documentaries. I've done a few of them in my career, but I just love watching documentaries. Tell me a bit, Sean, about the process of making this documentary, Americand.
Yeah, so basically we thought that this is, a very compelling subject. We can see it in the news. When we started it, we would tell people about income inequality, and they would come and they would have questions. But now it's just since the pandemic, everyone's kind of woken up to the fact that we're all at risk. Even if you're in the middle class, upper middle class, it's not stable anymore, mm-hmm. right? And basically, we set out and we shot in 23 states. We drove 32,000 miles, and we met people all over the country who are suffering. They're working 2-3 jobs, and every day they're not making it. And we got to meet Chris early on, and followed his story. Went down to Bessemer with him, and watched that develop, and watch this amazing organization happen in front of us.
At what point in Chris's story did you start filming?
So it was the summer right after his walkout.
Okay.
Pretty early on.
Yeah.
And then followed him. Right, we had a finished edit, which showed hope. And then they won, and then we re-edited the whole movie again.
If your subject is in a fight and your subject wins the fight, you got to re-edit the end. You got to re-edit that thing, man.
Yeah, totally. And so many people everywhere across this country that they're suffering and they don't know really why.
Yeah.
Right? It's not reported on that
Yeah.
this is organized. It's not by chance that this has happened.
Yeah.
Back in the 1970s, 1968, they actually came up with a plan on how to, take out the unions, get control of the courts, through the Federal Society, 1980. This is all planned.
Yeah.
And it was like, slowly over time, and now it's like, it's so obvious that there's something so very wrong.
So
it can't be ignored.
Let me ask Chris this question, a big broad question, Chris, and then I got some more specificity I want to get to. But what's your take? Here we are in 2023. What is your take on the state of the labor movement in America writ large? There are many who believe that labor is on life support in this country. What's your take on the labor movement right now in America?
Oof. Well, I mean, I'm still a rookie. I consider myself to be a rookie because, 3 years ago, I wasn't an organizer for, any union. And, I learned a lot in my last 3 years for sure. But I'm going to be honest, we got to do better.
Yeah.
Especially the labor movement in this country. We got to do a lot better than what we've done in the last 60 years. For sure, the numbers don't lie. Amazon spent $14.2 million on union busting on my campaign alone last year. And established unions, we're talking about all the powerful ones that everybody loves, the Teamsters, the AFLs, the SEIUs, all the unions that everybody know well that's been around for years, they only contributed 3% of their resources to new labor. And that's Amazon workers and Starbucks workers. So they have to do better. And it's a shame that we have to continue having these conversations. And I know it makes people uncomfortable, but this is what we have to do. We got to hold unions accountable, and we got to push unions to be in spaces where they haven't been. This is why I think our victory has resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm wondering, Chris, whether or not you think that labor, is my phrase, not yours, whether labor may be in some ways scared of its own shadow. And I put it that way because Amazon is quite a behemoth. You can talk Amazon, you can talk Walmart, you can talk Starbucks, you can talk a bunch of them. These are major international companies, and I'm wondering if labor feels, that old adage, you got to pick your fights, right? You got to pick your fights, pick the hill on which you're willing to die. I'm not trying to demean labor. I'm just asking whether or not it is your point of view that perhaps there are some of these fights that labor is just afraid to have because, again, they're up against such a huge corporation, international corporation, to try to win these fights. I mean, people have been talking about organizing at Amazon for years before you showed up, and other companies. And I'm just wondering whether or not you think that labor may be in some ways scared of its own shadow, so to speak.
Well, it's not even, the numbers in the last year hasn't shown that. It shows that most American people support unions.
Right.
And the strikes have been happening in different sectors and different industries. We've been seeing them. The problem is, it's the system that most unions are still a part of, which is the Democratic Party. A lot of these unions are going to these politicians, as you mentioned. Politicians that are getting in office and they don't remember where they came from. And we have a president that says he's the most pro-union president in American history, but then he used the Railroad Strike Act from 1945. And we're in 2023. So something's not right. The laws are outdated in this country. We don't have a labor party like most other countries around the world. And this is the reason why we've seen a decline in unionization in the last 6 decades. So we're trying to reverse all of that. And this is a slow revolution, but it is one. And we just got to make sure that, once again, the way we get to different spaces with new school organizing, we have to support that, and these established unions have to get behind us.
when we come forward, I want to talk about what new school organizing looks like. If anybody knows, Chris Smalls ought to know. He's the young man, the young brother who led Amazon workers in their fight on Staten Island, now the president and founder of the Amazon Labor Union since 2021. They said it couldn't happen, and Chris Smalls and his cohort said, not so fast. And now they're saying, how you like us now, right? They made it happen. But I thought I heard, and I'm sure you heard it as well, a pretty damning indictment of the Democratic Party. And it's to titular head, the president of these United States, for not being as bold as they ought to be in this moment about the labor movement. We'll talk about that. And again, we'll talk about new school organizing as Chris Smalls sees it when we come forward with Chris Smalls and Sean Claffey and their documentary Americand on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life and your choices with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age, but there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
It's our anniversary.
Every weekday during the month of June, we're giving away gear from the KBLA.store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our second anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA.store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
When I move my body, I feel like freedom.
Malik Books is hosting the Freedom to Read and Write Juneteenth celebration at Westfield Culver City Mall on June 17th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Come celebrate the freedom to read and write with love, music, children's activities, author readings, book signings, and more. For more information, go to MalikBooks.com. Come celebrate with us at Malik Books. Story time with Jozo Bozo the Clown. Featured author Anise Rochelle, reading and signing her bestseller, Juneteenth, a Book, teaches children about Juneteenth. Anise Rochelle has written 5 books that promote self-love and confidence. Come celebrate at Malik Books. Fun for the whole family. Freedom to read and write the Juneteenth celebration. Our voice matters. For more information, go to MalikBooks.com. Again, MalikBooks.com.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
So, Chris Smalls, tell me more about your viewpoint that it's politicians on both sides of the aisle who've created this sort of protection racket, if you will, for the rich, allowing corporations to deliberately crush these unions. Tell me more.
Well, I mean, last year I was invited to the White House to meet Joe Biden, and the same day he gives Jeff Bezos $10 billion to fly to space. It's kind of tone deaf.
Yeah.
And once again, I've been invited to Congress to speak to the Senate on behalf of Bernie Sanders, and who invited me up, and I got to address Lindsey Graham. And I told him, as he tried to make a plea for, corporations that have rights, I had to remind him that, the workers at the bottom, the entry-level workers, no matter if they're left or right, we're the ones who make these corporations operate.
Mm-hmm.
So without our well-being, you don't have a corporation. And that's what we got to remind ourselves as working-class people, is that Jeff Bezos is not coming to the warehouse and packing a box. That's us, and that's our labor. And our fight, it has to match up with the legislative part. The legal battles in this country with the NLRB process is so outdated that these corporations use that to their advantage, and it shouldn't be that way in the 21st century.
Yep. When you say new school organizing, what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, once again, our campaign is different. Me as a black president for a union, that's a minority.
Mm-hmm.
We're a minority in the labor movement. Most of the presidents in this country are white men, are white women, and it hasn't changed in a while. And on top of that, the way we're organizing is completely different. It's non-traditional. It's outspoken. It's out in the open. We're using tools like social media to our advantage.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing things that are just non-traditional. The way we won our campaign was so unprecedented. They're still trying to figure it out. and that's what it's going to take on corporations like Amazon and like Whole Foods or Walmart or whatever industry you're trying to organize. It's going to take a different style of organizing where they haven't dealt with a culture that we created last year with the Amazon Labor Union that has now resonated with millions of people across the world.
I love it. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Chris Smalls and Sean Claffey, the director of this documentary, Americon, want to get Chris and Sean's take on the fact that as worker productivity, that is, in this country has increased dramatically in recent decades, compensation for those workers has been stagnant, even as we have seen the salaries of CEOs of these American corporations fly through the roof. We'll talk about that in our remaining moments with Christian and Sean when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take. And when I left the Evan-On, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan. Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Conversations that matter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
I was just sharing with Miles Lowe, my board op, that Chris Smalls was almost a rapper. Almost had a career in that field. He actually toured briefly with Meek Mill. And he still may be a rapper somewhere down the road. Who knows? But I'm glad he found his true calling, and that is to be a voice for the voiceless and to advance the notion of what it means to have a stalwart labor movement in this country. And so I celebrate the work and witness of Chris Smalls, who I'll give the final word to in just a moment after I go to Sean Claffey first, because Sean is the director of this documentary, American. Sean, let me ask you right quick, and then we'll close with Chris. As I said, your take on the fact that while American CEO salaries are just going through the roof, have been for decades now, despite an increase in productivity, the compensation for American workers has remained stagnant. Your thoughts right quick.
Yeah, so basically, and in rural areas, the salaries have dropped in half.
Yep.
Right? So they've been absolutely decimated. Agriculture has been decimated. Manufacturing in rural areas has been decimated. We've never seen profits like we're seeing now. And it's just devastation. Mm-hmm. Right, and the whole middle is being destroyed. The working class is sliding into poverty, and you have to realize 70% of all people that get government assistance work full time. Right, 70%. So, where's the socialism going? We're supporting these multinational companies who are paying their workers not enough to live.
Yeah.
And we're paying, we're supporting them, and they have so much money, and they do these cash buybacks. And what we're seeing with AI and robotics is the white collar jobs are going to be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the NAFTA for the lawyers, accountants, doctors, even. We have to make it fair, or it'll just collapse.
Nope, I hear you. That's what we're facing. We're facing a collapse. This is not sustainable. I've got about 90 seconds left. Chris, I'll give you the last word. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, this is the time that we're in a point of no return. My journey is still to be determined, and I know we got to see the bigger picture. It may be hard for folks, but I encourage everybody to get involved and organize. That's the only way we're going to save ourselves. There's no cavalry coming for us. We got to do it. And the people, the power of the people.
Yeah. Amen to that. Power to the people. The documentary film is called American, a film, once again, about income inequality in this country and the tragic, destabilizing effects that so many fellow citizens are enduring because of the disrespect afforded to the labor movement in this country as we know it. Chris Smalls is an American labor organizer and is the president and founder of the Amazon Labor Union since 2021. Chris, congratulations on all the work and witness that you are engaged in. Good to have you on this program, sir. All the best to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, good to have had you on. And Sean Claffey, thank you as well for directing this powerful documentary, American. A delight to have talked to you as well. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you so much. And it's available tomorrow in North America, streaming at all different streaming sites.
Just about to say that. I'm glad you beat me to it. It's available everywhere tomorrow on all sorts of all kinds and most of the streaming platforms. Again, it's called American. Be sure to check it out. You will not be disappointed. That's our show for today. Back here tomorrow morning, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Time now for the KBLA Midday Money Chain. Up next, the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson, followed by Ahead of the Crypto Curve with Naja Roberts. Old money, new money. Either way, we got you covered here on KBLA Talk 1580. Until tomorrow, Lord willing, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Today is the 7th anniversary of the Pulse nightclub massacre in Florida. A gunman killed 49 people and injured 53 more. Their lives will be